Welcome back to Biohacking Beauty, the podcast where we simplify the science of youthful aging and help you take control of how you look and feel. I'm your host, Amitai Eshel, co-founder of Young Goose, the biohacking skincare company that's redefining what it means to age intelligently. Today, we have an incredible guest. Really, this episode is going to change the way you think about midlife, especially if you're a woman navigating the intersection of menopause, mobility, and muscle loss. Our guest is Dr. Vonda Wright, a double board certified orthopedic surgeon, longevity expert, and fierce advocate for empowering women through every decade of life. We're diving into the muscle-skin connection, how estrogen impacts your bones and face, and why strength might just be your ultimate anti-aging strategy. Dr. Wright will also answer rapid-fire questions on the biggest lies about aging, the most underrated longevity tips, and what every 30, 40, 50-year-old should know about their future body and what they should do about it. And just a quick reminder, if you want to support your skin from the outside in, head out to younggoose.com and use the code podcast10 for 10% off your order. It's our way to thank you for being a part of this amazing community that's aging in reverse. Now, let's get into it. All right, Vonda, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast. As I told you off air, I'm super excited to have you on.
Thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Yes, we didn't meet. I mean, we met a short time ago, and I immediately started talking about you coming on the podcast because I think you have a really cool perspective. So maybe we should start with the mobility longevity connection.
Okay.
And how it relates to aging and skin aging. And
yeah. So you know what? I have been interested in aging and longevity since the birth of my career, my orthopedic career. This is my second medical career.
Mm-hmm.
I was a cancer nurse first, but since my residency, and here's why, I have never, ever, ever believed that aging is an inevitable decline from the vitality of youth down this slippery slope, and that we're just victims of time and circumstance. I call BS on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And science supports that. And yet when you look at research studies, as I was doing in my residency, looking at what happens as we age, you would come to believe that we slow down, that our brains turn to mush, that we lose all of our bone, that we can't be vital and continue to be mobile. Because that's what some of the studies show. There's a huge study in the United States called the Health ABC, funded by the NIH,
mm-hmm.
that took a cohort of 70-year-olds and followed them over time. And all those declining things happened. But here's what you have to realize from aging studies, population aging studies. What's the truth about our population? 70% of them do no formal mobility every day.
Yeah.
Go to their cars, to their desks, to their cars, to their couches, probably 20 hours a day sitting. So what we know about aging has to do with sedentary aging, not what the human body is capable of. So my research team and I went out to prove that we can use sports performance as a biomarker of aging, that we can retain our bone, our muscle, our brains. And the very last study we did, we started identifying the proteins that could be behind that and got really fascinated by the longevity protein clotho, right?
Yeah.
Right? So our studies were only several of the very small body, which has grown to be bigger now, showing that, listen, when you reinvest in this vessel or this machine or however you like to call this organism we're in, when you reinvest, our body will step up. whether it's bone or muscle or frankly skin.
Yeah. Well, to your point, we've been looking at clotho as far as like upregulating clotho, etc., for a long time.
Yeah.
You can't say more than that, but yes. It reminds me, what you're saying reminds me of a guy, I always forget his name, but he started the FRC movement, the functional range conditioning movement. And he says, our cells, change every time. And depending on the organ, you have a completely different organ, whether it's 2 years or 25 years in case of your heart. Later, it's actually not the same organ you've had, right? All the cells are now new.
Yes.
And all of those cells are basically a picture of the demand that was put upon them. So they are only so that's basically it. You are currently the painting of the artist is the demand that was put on that specific mechanism.
Yeah. Bones replace themselves every 10 years.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, I think this is a very hopeful message, don't you?
I think so.
We get these second chances every, periodically, if we just take advantage of it.
Yes. Some people would say, though, yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying, but there are things that are going on in the background. There, I used to feel this and now I am that. Menopause obviously is a big, discussion around that. So, whether it is affecting muscle mass or bone health or skin health, a lot of people are going to say, hey, I feel less hopeful because there is this ticking clock in the background.
Yes. Well, and you know what? I'm not a Pollyanna. I get very excited. I'm not in a fantasy land about time and duration, and I certainly don't. I wouldn't want to be 25 again. I was going to say, I don't look 25 and I don't feel 25, but I wouldn't want to be 25 again. But my point is, I'm not a Pollyanna about these things, but even the hallmarks of aging, which I like to call time bombs, that we build shields against, can be modified.
Yeah.
Right. All the normal cellular metabolism and all the things you love, the reactive oxygen species and can be modified.
They can definitely. And to connect to what we said before, a lot of the times, like if I get really nerdy about it, I try to explain the difference between function and chaos, where as long as there is function preserved, as long as the information is available, we can really do a lot with the tissue. It's when we let whatever that is go and that tissue already has disintegrated into chaos. It means there is no bone, for example, to kind of scaffold upon. Or in case of skin, maybe there is, your skin is now loose and detached around your neck, and really it would be impossible to just wellness your way out of it, right? But for the most part, all of those hallmarks of aging, which started actually from cancer research, like they started as the hallmarks of cancer, so they go a long way. All of them are things that we can dial back right now 20 years, and in the future I'm assuming maybe stop and reverse.
Well, and I'm not from the camp of, honestly, I'm still a practicing doctor, so I see the reality of people living every single day. So I'm not in the camp that, like some of my peers and friends in this space are, we're trying to live 200 years or 150 years. Fine. I do want to live quite a long time, but until the very day I die, whether I look like myself or not, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And even at that very granular functional level, it takes intervention, because if we let the laws of physics take over and energy rolls downhill, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And within that, I think there is a discussion around inflammation that most people, I think the inflammation, first of all, is on one hand vilified, and people don't understand it's a process that we have to have in the body. On the other hand, I think it is that unresolved inflammation across time that presents a challenge. Whether it is, again, in joint degeneration,
Mm-hmm.
skin health.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a discussion do you have, like day in, day out, with patients about inflammation? What do people
Yeah.
think inflammation is? How far is it from reality?
So you know what? People don't come to my office. Look, I just came from the OR. People do not
Mm-hmm.
get with me today or come to my office when they're having good days,
Yeah.
right? I see them on the ball field or around town when they're having good days. So everybody who comes to me is experiencing the consequences of inflammation, whether
Yeah.
it's good inflammation or not. And so let's just take I would love to talk about inflammation in terms of estrogen
Yeah.
eventually, but let's talk about it right now in terms of the very common thing people come in. No matter what your age or skill level, you can wear down the cartilage in your bone, right? For those of people listening, cartilage is the end cap of bones. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
bumper of a car. The coefficient of friction of um, of cartilage is smoother than ice until you bang it up,
Yeah.
and then it becomes like potholes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that causes the release of lots of different kinds of inflammatory cytokines. So not only do you have a bumpy road to ride on, but the whole microenvironment is inflamed. And so when people come to me for that, if a typical orthopod would shoot them up with steroids and send them on their way,
Mm-hmm.
we have a whole discussion about inflammation, starting with nutrition.
Yeah.
They think I'm just going to bring out a needle, and I rarely do. But we're talking about what we're feeding. I'm like, why are you treating your body like a trash compactor? And
Mm-hmm.
all this inflammatory substances in. And we talk about sugar and the levels of protein we need. We talk about complex carbs versus simple carbs and their effect on their knee pain, for instance. And then we progressed through other stress sources of inflammation, other mobility sources, the pounding, the fact that
Mm-hmm.
a joint bears 4 to 10 times body weight, right? That causes extra inflammation on this already damaged surface. So
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a huge conversation, a huge part of every conversation. And people are surprised because most of the time people think of inflammation as either the chronic inflammaging that's going to kill you or the sprained ankle inflammation.
Yeah.
It's hot and red. But it's hard for people to understand that that's actually part and parcel of the same process. One that is finite and is under control, and one that has descended into chaos, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned estrogen.
Yes.
What is the within the context of inflammation?
Yeah.
Where does estrogen come in, or where is hormonal imbalance come in?
So I'll talk about hormonal imbalance, but the role of estrogen, estrogen has a significant impact on total body inflammation through
Mm-hmm.
various interleukins that it regulates via a molecule within the immune system called the inflammasome. But it's a regulatory molecule, right? So both men and women make estrogen. It's a misnomer that testosterone is the man's hormone and estrogen is the woman's hormone. They're hormones. We make them. You make them. I make them. Just in different. We have different ways of perceiving them. But men have hormones that decline in a slow, steady like this, a very slow, regulated way. Women in our adolescent to to matrescence years, those reproductive years, have a very predictable, hopefully cyclical pattern until we get down in perimenopause to our last 1 to 3% of our eggs.
Yeah.
Your audience probably knows what I'm about to say, but that we're born with all the eggs we're ever going to have. It's a miracle of life, right? And then we get rid of them every month until finally around 40, we have so few left. And it's the follicle of the egg, right? The egg bursts, and it's the remaining follicle that then produces the estrogen. And we have so few producers, that's when the body goes searching for it, right? FSH rises, the brain's like, oh my God, oh my God. And so it can keep it up for a while. And then finally these ovaries retire. And from an inflammatory standpoint, women are suddenly highly inflamed in ways they had never been because of the role of estrogen. And our insulin is dysregulated. And the estrogen receptors in our brains are no longer filled. And so we feel foggy. And all the now 75 symptoms due to this natural decline of estrogen. So, and if we're talking about faces, we lose about 30% of our collagen rapidly. It's a shocking circumstance that happens. But I believe, as you do, obviously, that it's not enough to work on the outside. It has to be revitalized from the inside.
It's so cool that you're saying it, because I think something we see, I'll actually speak to something that you probably see somewhere else, but it's when you talk about long distance athletes, especially ones that pound on their joints, you can see a lot of IBS, or you see a lot of increased gut permeability.
Yeah.
And there is a part of the competition for the building blocks of collagen that there is a demand there that's being shared now because there's more demand. And guess what needs collagen as well, aside from our gut and our joints, also our skin. Obviously, it's not the same collagen, but the building blocks are
the same,
damn near identical.
Yeah.
So I think there is also a connection there between not being able to resolve that inflammation and the excessive need for collagen in other places, especially if we're not treating our body very well, and we're creating inflammation in our gut and permeability and joints and blah blah. And then on top of all of that, and by the way, other molecules like hyaluronic acid are also part of that discussion. But then again, the decline of collagen in our skin is exacerbated through those things as well, as far as, let's say, treating our insides in order to improve our skin health or prevent skin decline.
Oh, so I need to go look this up now. So have studies shown that people with higher early osteoarthritis also have poor skin quality?
Poor skin quality, connective tissue as a whole.
Interesting. I need to go read that.
And by the way, there are smaller studies, more anecdotal, looking at people with things like connective tissue disorders, things that are not considered as disorders, but are borderline disorders, like a double jointed or increased flexibility. All of those have genetic predisposition for a poorer collagen quality as time goes on. By the way, collagen is a heuristic here. It's a connective tissue as a whole. It could be lumicans, could be obviously elastin. I mean, yes, in general, the matrix that builds our connective tissue is compromised. And there are rare cases where obviously like collagen decline is the main aspect and everything else follows. Yeah. But that's no one talks about it. And I think there is a flip side to that. And the flip side is when we decide, we try to keep our skin and our body healthy, whether we do it or not, there is a point probably during the same time when our body stops behaving the way that we want it to predictably behave. There is a time where we say, hey, I actually want to look 5 years younger, 10 years younger. I'm going to go to whoever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have stimulation or demand. Again, it's actually the demand that we kind of spoke about before. Thrust upon me, presented to my skin in the form of microneedling, lasers, whatever that is, so my skin will respond. And that is where I feel people are actually introducing or exacerbating, aging, or introducing a rapid onset of aging, because what they are doing is, once you have inflammation that is unresolved in the body, once you have one of those hallmarks, which is epigenetic stability, all of those at a poor quality, it's not necessarily, and I'm sure you would agree with me from an ortho standpoint, it's not about creating more collagen. It is the quality of that collagen. So it's not quantitative, it's not quantitative, it's qualitative. So we see much more scarring. The tissue is being resigned basically to scar tissue much more quickly. And this is the enemy of graceful aging and longevity.
Scar tissue. Well, let me tell you, for exactly in musculoskeletal tissue, pull a muscle, bone might be the only exception, but pull a muscle, tear a tendon, tear cartilage, you are never getting back. Let's talk about cartilage. You are never, no matter how good a job I do, getting back hyaline cartilage that you were born with. You will get fibrocartilage.
Tell me about it. I had 8% of my meniscus removed. Tell me about it.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, and so that being said, and a muscle, right? You tear your hamstring, you'll repair with fibroblasts, right? Because our body just wants to heal quick so we don't get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, frankly. But to your point, my approach with no matter what the age or skill level of my athletes, from my pros to my mere mortals like me, is let's correct our movement patterns. Let's supply our body with the building blocks so you never get hurt, because I can't give you back what you were created with. I can patch you up, and that's the sad reality. I mean, I can get people back to the highest levels of sports, but not with their original tissue.
Exactly. But through I wouldn't say improvising at this point of your medical ability.
We're not improvising, but we're being resourceful and reallocating parts, right? I'm going to take your quad and make it into an ACL and make you a non-anatomical person. But I mean, that's good. Medical science is amazing. But what if we were so whole on the inside that the only time we were really hurt is not due to overuse, or we just get so highly inflamed, or it's due to trauma. You can't help trauma sometimes, but many of us get hurt because the quality of our tendons becomes so bad, right? And some of that is hormonal. Some of that is poor diet. Some of that is smoking like a chimney because we thought it was cool when we were young, right? Not so much.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So what do you think are some of the common misconceptions, let's say like women over 40 believe about aging? Now that we spoke about, about kind of end case scenarios and things that are accumulate through time, what do you see that you think is, untrue?
What is untrue? Well, I think there are a lot of myths that are perpetuated, frankly, from the Women's Health Initiative that was published in 2002, which was the very large billion-dollar study. And lots of good other things have come out of it. But the travesty and devastation of taking hormone replacement away from a generation of women, and every woman doesn't have to decide. Before the WHI, 40% of women were hormone optimizing. Now less than 4% because of the false claim of rapid onset breast cancer, right? So women believe that aging is inevitable and that suffering is okay. Do you know that nearly to a woman, they come in, and men say this, but much more often women come into my office, they say, I didn't want to come today because I have a very high pain tolerance. It's like this badge of honor. I'm going to give people a button, high pain tolerance. Listen, I have a high pain tolerance, and I believe them. They probably do. But they go on and on and on with not listening to their bodies and thinking it's somehow magically going to get better with no changes, with no kind of restorative protocols. Not true. Not true. So if we want to age in a way so that we can do what we want to do when we want to do it, we have to actively pursue it. We have to actively intervene with this is not rocket science, our nutrition, right? All the things, our nutrition. We have to get over saying stupid things like, I'll sleep when I die, because I tell you'll die if you don't sleep. And I know that because I was a surgical trainee for 11 years and I didn't sleep. Once every night I was on call, right? And I didn't sleep. And it frightens me, the health damage I've done to myself. But nutrition, sleep, the work time stress we put on ourselves, and I'm a guilty of that too.
Yeah.
And then frankly, I'm a musculoskeletal doctor. The sedentary living that turns the most beautiful, metabolically active organ in our system, our muscles and our bones, into mush.
Yeah.
Into mush. We are designed to move. If we were not designed to move, I think nature is very conservative. Our biggest muscles are below our belly buttons. We were designed to be sedentary, or it was natural to be sedentary. We would be shaped like a mushroom with a big sessile stalk and a little bitty, right? That's what nature does. If you're not designed to move, you have a big old stalk.
Yeah.
That's not how we're designed, right? When you think about it like that, natural is moving.
Yeah. And we were designed within that, we were designed to carry. I think that is like a big, listen, one of the things that I think right now, is we speak. The amount of not yoga studios, the other one, Pilates studios. It's crazy. So technically, we're not going to do it this year probably, but every year, summertime, we used to go to the Hamptons. We used to do whatever, like a pop-up, whatever. We will be in the Hamptons. And it was my hobby, counting Pilates studios in the Hamptons. And it's insane. It's insane.
Do you know how many women I know that have become Pilates instructors because they simply went to Pilates 5 days? Right. It's just a thing.
But although Pilates is really cool.
It's cool.
There are studies there are the twin studies from somewhere in Scandinavia looking at I think cross country skiers across time, showing that there is not much difference in like muscle mass and bone density whether you've done cross country skiing but you haven't carried weight around, or I think there were ones about runners as well. But at the end of the day, do you agree with me that we are also, meant and should place demand on our body in the form of heavy weight lifting?
Yes. I've gotten a lot of trouble on the internet for saying things like, running is better for the heart. It does not build muscle mass, right? Because, and I just say that, and then the runners come back and say to me, but I'm strong. You are strong, and you're much faster than me. But runners, when I stand you on one leg, you're hurt all the time because running does not build big glutes.
Yeah.
And sometimes your glutes don't even fire and you're kind of just moving. Somehow your body is getting down the road. So we are designed not only to move, but to bear loads. We are. Structurally, we're designed. And therefore, the more muscle we have, the more bone we have, the healthier we are, because both muscle and bone, everybody now is talking about muscle, which is the irony, because since the very beginning, I had a muscle stem cell lab. And I'm so glad all this time later, people are listening, that it's critical. But I am now on a rampage to make sure people understand the importance of bone, right? Because it's the forgotten organ. I mean, unless we're looking at our cheekbones like, ooh, good cheekbones, or what's the funny bump on my, right? That's the only thing we think about bones until we break one.
Yeah.
Until we break one. But the reality is, what is muscle without bone? It's a heaping.
It's a slug.
It's a heaping pile of metabolic tissue. Yes, it's a slug.
It's a slug.
Oh my God, I'm writing that down.
Yes. You're an invertebrate.
That's right.
Yeah.
But until you put bones behind it, you don't have form. You don't have locomotion the way we want it. But bone is also like muscle and endocrine organ, helping to build brain, helping to produce testosterone.
Stem cells.
Stem cells. So we can't forget the very structural integrity, but it also will turn to mush, as we've said 3 times now, if we're
Yeah.
not conscientious about it.
Is there, I have a question. I don't know what to ask first, but let me ask that. I'll start, I'll go the long way around.
Yep.
I wanted to start this year as one of my tenants, and I told you when I kept talking about you coming on the podcast, I told you one of the tenants this year was to talk about perimenopause, menopause, hormonal balance, etc. in general.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another tenant that I wanted, and I never went through with it. And I would say, we have 3 tenants. We have, 1, 2, and then I would be like, what's the third one? And I finally realized, and I'll tell you how I realized, it was GLP-1 agonists.
Oh, okay.
And here's why. The reason I remembered it is because there is a huge company right now that made a specific skincare product. It's the most generic skincare product of all times, but they made an enormous campaign. They invested around $12 million in the campaign alone.
Wow.
It's called, I'm going to give it away. It's called Volulift.
Oh,
and even the company, it's called Image, the company behind it doesn't even like really advertise. They're the ones behind it. It's kind of a standalone company that they opened, has its own Instagram page, its own website, whatever.
You're ashamed of it?
No, it's just the most generic product of all times. But the product is marketed as a product to prevent Ozempic face, basically.
Wait, I thought that was a muscle and collagen problem, Ozempic face.
Listen, it's apparently a marketing problem, because that is what the whole idea is. And they kind of do, pay the piper, say, oh, it should be used with, basically with injectables as well for volume, whatever. Which is a different problem. But and then I remembered, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about GLP-1s this year, and I haven't done it at all. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is there any evidence that GLP-1s, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, tirzepatide, whatever, do anything as far as like bone mass? Has anyone looked at that?
You know what? I was looking this up the other day, and I can't find the gold star study, right? I can't find it. And so maybe I just haven't looked far enough, high enough for it. But I can't, because I find some that it's good for it. I find some that it's bad for it. And so I hate to make sweeping statements because people tend to listen and then they're like, oh, you said this. But
I know,
is not fantastic.
This podcast is really, it should be called What You Said in the Other Podcast. And now I have a question about it. And here's my second question.
Yeah.
I believe one of the problems, when we age, there is something called the triangle of beauty, which means that you mentioned cheekbones. It means when we are youthful and we communicate sexual virality and vitality, we have an inverted triangle as far as below our eyes. So our cheeks are wide and our chin is thin, and there is a straighter line going between them, and it creates an inverted triangle. And as we grow older, that triangle flips. That's called the triangle of beauty. So we get.
Suppose it's like this, or is it like?
So it's like this, and people can't see. Obviously, a lot of people. It's the triangle's head is pointing downward, so that you're wide. You're wide across the middle part of your face, and then narrow in the bottom, and it flips. So basically you have like jowls as you grow older, etc.
Yeah, got it.
And bone loss is one of the aspects, muscle mass, fat tissue, but also bone loss is one of the issues that determines facial structure and reduction of volume as we grow older. Are there ways to take care of all three, but really of bone loss in the face as we grow older? Should we just chew on metal pipes? What should we do?
You know what? I have seen protocols for facial exercises, build back the masseter muscles, the who wants to build these up? We're trying to put Botox in our foreheads, but who wants that? But for the muscles of mastication, I have seen exercise protocols where people are like, I am chewing gum for a year, so I reshape my face. I suppose putting tension, if I take Wolf's Law, is impacting bone causes bone to grow, then theoretically by eating hard foods, I can maintain my cheek and jaw interface, right? Because I'm pressing on my upper jaw against my lower jaw. Theoretically, I have never read a study about that. I have never seen that because we don't even measure bone density in the face with a DEXA scan. So how would we even know? Although, there is an ultrasound called REMS. It's by a company called Echolight. Oh, right? Yeah. I bet we could ultrasound the bones of the face, and I'm going to talk to them about that.
I'll tell you who does a lot of facial bone ultrasound. That would be holistic dentists. But that would be from obviously from a different perspective. That would be bone loss in general, but more specifically bone loss due to, again, inflammation caused by...
And 40% of women in perimenopause will lose a tooth because of the osteoporosis of their jaw. So it's real. It's real.
Yeah. We should, there should be a campaign around it. And I would say probably, kind of connecting Ozempic or whatever. Ozempic is obviously now a branded name for GLP-1s. It would probably, again, at the end, it will come down to the nutrients you can derive from food, right? Like at the end of the day.
Rapid weight loss will result in muscle loss no matter how you do it. Yeah. I mean, so part of the hubbub around loss of muscle with GLP-1s has to do with just how fast you lose muscle. Yeah. But if you're eating adequate protein and lifting as you do it, there seems to be less of an effect. But
but I think from everything that you said, in the last 10 minutes, what I took from all of it is that the beliefs you carry around aging and the actions you take on a daily basis are more damaging than aging itself. That's kind of what I got before I started the whole GLP-1 tirade. But this is kind of what I noted to myself. It's you're talking a lot about you need to start with moving. You need to understand that you're you're built from the bottom up, quite literally. And if you believe you should be comfortable, sedentary, blah blah blah, this would be significantly more aging than aging.
Well, I like how you've summarized that, because I talk a lot when people lead me down this pathway about pivoting mindset. I mentioned being 25 now, because here's the deal. You cannot go forward as your strongest. I wrote a book called Unbreakable lately, and as an unbreakable self, if you believe that it's inevitable and there's nothing you can do to change. So it's a mindset pivot, but it's also harnessing, having confidence to go forward as an older person. You have to be able to look back at your past successes. What I find many women doing, and this is not a judgment, people, this is just an observation, is not believing that they can still make changes, by not believing that the commitment they make to their self matters, or that the challenges that are amplified as we age with normal living, that the challenges can be overcome. Sometimes I see people really resigned to this because they have forgotten their past successes. I believe that confidence to go forward comes from the memory of our past successes. And if we would just harvest knowing that we've done the hard things, whatever those were, socially, educationally, traumatically, and apply those, I mean, God, it's going to be easy, right? We've done all these hard things.
Yes. I might give Tony Robbins credit he doesn't deserve. I think Tony Robbins is the one that says it, but it could be, anyone on YouTube, to be honest. whoever that is, let's say Tony Robbins, he says, make sure you don't only celebrate your successes or the successful conclusion of an effort of a specific effort. You also log it somewhere and you use it as ammunition to speak to yourself later on.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, it wasn't in my. Obviously, when something like that happens, I say I'm logging it, and then I don't remember it. But I love it, and I think it's like I'm gonna double my efforts
remember
here.
That? Yeah, remember that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find myself, please do not test me, family, like universe, God, don't test me. However, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I made it through 11 years of residency. I didn't sleep. I ate cold pizza what could be worse? I have a warm bed in a house, right? And I know this is a first world thing for me to say. I know there are people in dire. I know that. That was pretty insensitive of me. But I just feel like we're equipped. We just have to recognize we're equipped.
Yeah. By the way, anyone in this world, sensitive, insensitive, I get where that is coming from. But I would just say that anyone listening to this is like doing significantly better than our ancestors in caves and stuff like that. We're all pretty lucky.
Or at the turn of the century when men lived to 46 and we don't know how long women lived because there's no record.
Oh, yeah. One of the things, that's again a side note, but like talking about someone who was born in 1990. It's like by age 14, the First World War starts. They live through the Great Depression, Second World War, Korea, Vietnam.
I know.
We're good.
We're good.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. Oh, well, of course, the Spanish flu. Of course.
Yeah.
We're doing well, I believe. Okay, let's talk about, apropos, we're doing well. Is there a 15-minute routine, daily routine? You can say this is do this, and you can transform your aging outcomes.
15 minutes?
15 minutes. The lowest bar price of entry.
I can get through one of the 4 power lifts that I do in 15 minutes.
Nice.
So if I'm going to be deadlifting, right? It's a hot day. I walk to the gym or I walk outside for 5 minutes. I come back in. I'm hot. My body temperature is hot. I believe in heavy lifting. Meaning once you build up from getting off the couch, which could take a year, and
could be heavy on its own.
It could be heavy on its own. And learn the technique of lifting heavy. You do 4 to 6 reps. It does not take forever. And then you rest for 2 minutes. 4 to 6 reps. You're going to get it done in 30 minutes. You're going to get it done in 15 minutes. And I'm not saying this is enough, people, but if you lift with your legs heavy twice a week, with your arms heavy twice a week, or maybe because I've said the most important muscles are below your belly button, you do legs 3 days a week and you do arms 1 day a week, you can get a lift done in 15 minutes. You don't get all the fancy accessory things done, but you get a compound lift done. That's it. Do that. Yeah. And then walk around a lot.
Love it.
Count it as exercise. Count it as just activity.
I love it. And if someone needed like a vain perspective looking at it, the ability, one of the best things we can do, obviously if we take an extreme case like a bodybuilder, it actually will be different, but within the parameters of a normal human being, your heavy lifting does wonders for angiogenesis and in general for the ability to move blood in the body. And our skin, the number one, by the way, hair and skin health, integumentary system, so hair, nails, and skin health, the number one determinant of health is blood supply. So if you needed a vain perspective on this, Here you go, right?
You know what? I'm going to so use that because for 30 years in my career, I've been trying to motivate people, and I will verbalize it as I could care less about your little black dress, which is a motivating factor. But if I say that I have less wrinkles because I lift heavy, people will be motivated by that.
Yeah, they just need to remember not to do like suffering faces while they lift, because they might get wrinkles. Never mind. But actually, that's funny because I'll give you two anecdotes there. Number one, about 10, 20 years ago, there were a bunch of doctors that lost their licenses because they were prescribing. And that's a thing. I need to go and see exactly what medication that was. But it was basically a vasodilator for skin health. Yeah, I know, but I can't remember what it was. So it was a heart medication, basically. But can't remember what it was.
Like
that's number one.
Blocker, so the vessels dilated.
Yeah. Yeah. Before they were cool, right? Right now they're cool, right? Because of Silicon Valley. But that's number one. Number two. We started. But the first project we ever had, myself, when I was a young entrepreneur, CEO of a red light therapy company, and we needed to pivot a medical laser mainly used on animals to this device that basically we were maybe the first ones, for sure, one of the first ones that were peddling at home red light therapy panels, different applicators, etc. Back then, you could have had wraps and stuff for neurologic issues, but like home tools. And no one gave an F. No one gave an F. You would go to people with phantom pain. They would not give an F. It would introducing a new modality to them would be irrelevant. Really irrelevant. But the same person, you would tell him, hey, this device, you could also use on your face and you would have better skin because we see this and that. And I remember the same way we kind of created an anecdote here of, collagen is important here, and there. We arrived at this eureka moment kind of in the same way where we tried to explain, I don't remember if we explained like blood flow or we explained maybe like, I don't remember what it was. Maybe like cartilage. I don't remember, but it was something around collagen production. Then we said yes, and that is why the research, shows that it's good for anything from wound healing to wrinkles.
So when we're off this air, you have to tell me, or you'll tell me now if you want, but the best one, because there's charlatans right now. There
are many charlatans, and that's actually, I'm going to use the on-air opportunity to do that. It's actually, there is no the best one, because there are, for example, I have on my desk, there are absolutely no affiliation, just because I used it. This is a product that is too, as you can see, I used it on my hand. This is too strong. This device can literally burn you. This can create a second-degree burn. Because it uses, insane amount of energy, and that wouldn't be something I would use on anyone's face, right? So to say the best is a problematic thing to say. What I would say is this: the parameters of finding a good device. First of all, I would recommend the panel instead of a mask, just because the ability to get a good amount of energy imbued on the skin, relayed to the skin. And then the panel should have ventilation in the back. Just something that you see where a little propeller. And the reason is, and again, I'll use this device and you'll see in the back like two propellers here. This device is called Chroma. It's mainly for injuries, and I take it traveling because it's very strong. You can put it far away and it's going to cover a big area. But it's also, there are cheaper devices. Anyway, but basically, companies like, Mito Red, BioLight, Juve, Platinum LEDs, they really make very similar devices. The ones that I recommend just have better customer service, or maybe they're a little smaller and you want to support slightly smaller companies, so
Mhm.
Mitored or BioLite would be better. But they all have, for the diodes that are about 3 to 5 watts, they already need a cooling system. They already are going to get overheated. So that's just like the easiest thing if you are looking for a device. And above that, don't have people try to sell you some bells and whistles. It's actually pretty easy to buy those. You could buy them. You could buy them and make your own. But like these are very easy to buy. The reason I recommend panels, the value for money is the best because they are also, everyone's using the same frames. So everything is very easy. Maintenance is very easy. If you have like some funky device and something happens,
you can't get it.
You get water on it, you drop it, whatever. Companies are going to have a hard time like sourcing, materials for it. So that's why I recommend the ones that I do. But anyway, the bottom line was that red light therapy owes its success, although, we tried, by the way, at the end of the day, Juve took what we did and like ran with it. But we tried to do is like bring, Jack, we brought like some celebrities and celebrity athletes and golf players, and we said, hey, this helps this and that. Supported a study with a Swedish soccer team. I don't remember which one, but like showed that if you exposed your quads pre-training, you have better ability and you have less injury, blah, blah, blah. No one gives an F. They only cared about their skin. And then if it's already in their house, then when something hurts, they're going to use it, right? But I think
I'm using this to make women lift weights.
Amazing. Amazing.
No, but I'm going to do it. I'm not doing it now, but I'm going to start using this. Yeah.
Yeah. Blood flow. And that's, I remember being a kind of a teenager, lifting and caring about, my biceps or whatever.
Yeah.
And I went to this old gym bro and I was honest. I asked him, hey, I don't really mind. I don't really care about legs. I don't mind like small legs, big legs. Why should I train legs? He said, well, if you're not going to train legs, your arms are not going to grow. Because your body likes balance and it's going to just like stop. Obviously, it's like bro science, but like your body likes balance and it's going to stop growing because it knows your legs are weak or whatever. But it worked.
That's enough. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Anyway, so what do you think women need or why women need different fitness protocols past 40?
So, number one, I'll take anything, right? Do not let what I say be a barrier. Yeah. I will take anything to get you off the couch, people listening, or to get you walking around. But the reason that I ask women of a midlife, perimenopause, 45 is the average age of perimenopause, and above, to lift heavy, and I'll define that, is because we lose our fast twitch muscle fibers as we age. And I am not lifting for pure hypertrophy, meaning, whether or not I have a giant bicep anymore or huge muscles.
Or the glute is important, apparently.
We do want great glutes, but I don't generally want big muscles. I do not need the long endurance. I want strength and then I want power, which is different ways to lift. So if we want endurance, we lift a light weight many, 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 many times. You can do it to failure if you want. If it takes you 30 reps to get to failure, who has that kind of time, frankly? Okay, and that'll give you endurance. And then you can do what's more normal, 15 reps, up to 20 reps, blah, blah, blah. And you'll get hypertrophy. You can still do to failure. You're still a lot of reps with light weights. But I ask for heavy lifting because that not only that works on recruiting the neuromuscular pathways to recruit more muscle fiber bundles so that you have more strength with a single episode. And then when you get a little advanced, we're going to slow it down and or speed it up and do tempo type lifting because I'm interested in strength over time because what I'm really interested in is you not tripping and falling or being able to get up. Not have to meet you in the emergency room with your broken hip because you couldn't get yourself out of a dangerous situation because you had no muscle mass.
Yeah.
Move this body. So for me, part of it is, listen, I lift heavy and I feel like a badass when I do. There is that mental edge, right? But there's the functional edge of I can do what I want when I want. I still do Spartan races. I'm trying to convince myself that it's a good thing to go do that new hybrid competition, Hydrox or whatever. At my age, to entertain that's interesting. But that is the attitude I always want to have. But ultimately, into the end of the day, I'm trying not to end up in my own emergency room with a broken hip, where 50% of the time I will not return to pre-fall function. And 30% of the time I could die, not my watch.
Yeah, they say that your last decade of life starts when you broke your hip, right?
Well, could be the last year if 30% of the time you die. Oh, yeah. These are real data. There's not hyperbole in these data. So whatever we can do now, I mean, it is hard for people to think about the future when we're healthy, vital, active, joyful. There's a temporal disconnect. So we need to focus on how badass you feel today, but knowing it's going to keep you from that place in the future.
It's funny because a lot of the times I really try to translate the truth that you're speaking right now, which is musculoskeletal truth, to skin health, which are, and by the way, I think I originally stole it from Dr. Jeff Gladden, which is, there are 3 types of focal points, focuses that you should be looking at as far as like the vantage point of health. One is optimal performance, which is the athletes that you see, etc. The second is longevity, and the third is resilience. And it's a Venn diagram, right? A lot of times. So I think the easiest is to say, hey, if you are putting all your eggs in the optimal performance basket, guess what? You're going to create the damage to your cartilage like I did. And also longevity. We all know, I mean, we flip out when Tom Brady still can stand on his own 2 feet at 46 as a quarterback, right? Like, and it's not going to be a feat to anyone else. It's just that Tom Brady was at it's probably in the most grueling sport there is. So that is our point, right? He was focused on optimal performance and could maintain resilience and longevity. I try to explain it, and so that's kind of what you were saying right now.
To your point, all pro athletes, if we take it from Tom Brady is a special specimen. What normally happens to pro athletes who have focused their whole life on performance, and I see this because my job is I'm an orthopedic sports surgeon. I've taken care of very elite teams in my lifetime. But I'm also married to a retired pro hockey player who was elite enough to have 2 Stanley Cups. And so he spent his entire youth in performance mode, right? And you sacrifice bodily resilience for that 18 surgeries later. I mean, or football players, football linemen who aren't always the healthiest, but they are still performance specialists, right? They do not have longevity. Because sometimes they die in their 50s from metabolic syndrome. So that really is a great example of what you're talking about. You may be heavy in one of the bubbles of the Venn and have almost nothing in one of the other ones, right?
Yeah. By the way, and I think we're like resilient. I think so. Each one of them, if you really focused on each one, I'll just give 2 examples just to, again, like make sure that I covered it. Like if you are doing everything for longevity, it means you're in calorie deficit all the time. It means you're probably on like medication, like for example, rapamycin. And that, in and on its own, by the way, is going to reduce your resilience. So rapamycin, for example, you're not going to be able to, recover from cuts and scrapes. And calorie deficit is definitely not good for optimal performance, and also not good for anything from, by the way, your
resilience.
Anything really, resilience, anything. So, and resilience, by the way, just again, you could be resilient to pathogens, for example, by living in India, okay, or I think India is a great example because they are very, I mean, as a country, they have a lot of metabolic issues, cardiovascular issues. They're one of the most problematic countries in that aspect.
Mhm.
So it's resilience on its own, and talking about, let's talk about longevity, like the exposure, there is a direct correlation between exposure to E. coli and decline of NAD through
Interesting.
exposure to E. coli increases CD38, which I refer to as NAD Pac-Man. It eats NAD. So more CD38 you have, the less NAD you have on average, obviously. So here we got to the longevity connection. So, but obviously, like if you are exposed all the time to E. coli and you can handle it, and now you are like a more resilient human being.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and last example is Wim Hof, probably the most resilient guy ever. His skin doesn't look great. God bless him.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, even within the menopause community and various facets of it, I can see this dichotomy of performance, longevity, and resilience. And all I can see is, I mean, I see muscles, but I also see skin. And I don't know metabolically how healthy people are, but it is an interesting thing to think about. How do we balance right in the middle of those three things? As a mere mortal person, like I don't need to be Tom Brady's performance. Yeah.
Even though Tom Brady's skin looks good too, but that I think is due to, some... Anyway, let me ask you a question, because we're supposed to keep it under an hour, and as I told you, I knew it's not going to happen, and I have so many more questions, but I'll try to be a good boy.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do that. But I'll try to be yes, for sure.
Okay.
But I want to do a couple things. First of all, maybe last question, like a quirky question I have for you is what interventions you think there are that help both bone density and skin firmness?
I think eating enough protein in our diet. I think we're completely undercaloried and under-proteined. And when I try to explain to people what adequate protein is, they're like, oh my God, I can't eat that much. It's not that much food, people. You can have very low volume, high quality protein. So that's one, please. Can we stop eating sugar and inflaming the bejesus out of our skin? I mean, when we're highly inflamed, that's where eczema comes from. And it's related a lot of times to diet.
Oh yeah. I mean, directly, if one hallmark, which is an honorary mention as a hallmark of aging, it's not one of the original one, which is glycation. Yeah, is like it hits the skin the hardest, basically. So glycation is the attachment of sugar molecules to protein, rendering them, changing them, and making, in the skin specifically, making the skin less elastic, more etched with wrinkles, and everything you can imagine. Just imagine like an older person that looks like a weather beaten, I think it's called, that is kind of what you could imagine as glycation, right? More bruising, thinner skin, etc. So this is sugar. Like not obviously all the time, but this is what sugar does. It increases glycation. So for 1,000,000%, I love your answer. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Now we're going to go to rapid fire. So extremely, yes, extremely fast, to risking even not covering everything, but extremely fast answers. Let's try it.
That's hard for me.
I know, me too. What's the biggest lie women over 40 still believe about aging?
That they have to suffer.
Love it. What's one midlife health trend you think is actually worth the hype?
Lifting heavy weights.
I'll take it. Yeah, it's in the vogue now. If you could ban one outdated orthopedic practice, what would it be?
Steroid injections into joints.
Nice. What's the most underrated longevity tip you wish more people followed?
Start when you're 17.
Nice. Wow. Yeah. What's one thing about muscle loss after menopause that no one's talking about?
We're talking about a lot of muscle. Women show up in my clinic with
Uh-huh.
osteosarcopenia.
Uh-huh.
They've lost their bone, they've lost their muscle, they have
Yeah.
osteosarcobesity, and they have too much adipose tissue because everybody talks to each other through the hormones they produce. It's not 1
Yeah.
plus 1 equals 2. It's 1 plus 1 equals exponential damage.
Yes. Yeah. And you can look girthy, but really there's nothing there. There's really nothing there. It's just all
fat.
adipose tissue.
I have X-rays to show it. It's remarkable.
I know, it's crazy. If someone, another 15-minute one. Okay, never mind. I already asked that. What's the most shocking connection between menopause and mobility?
What's shocking to people is that the inflammation of losing your estrogen freezes your shoulder, gives you total body pain. We've already talked about loss of muscle. We've already talked about loss of bone. But women after 50 have a rapidly increasing onset of osteoarthritis. Men before 50 have more arthritis. Women after 50, suddenly they're riddled, their hands, their knees.
Yeah. What do you wish every 30-year-old woman knew about their future body?
I have 4 millennial daughters in their 30s, daughters and daughters-in-laws, and I hope that they become so educated on what happens after childbearing, what to do before perimenopause, whether or not they're going to take hormones, where to find them. They need to be completely literate so that they do not have to suffer like my generation did when I thought I was going to die at 47 before I mastered this. I feel great now, but before I mastered it, I thought I was going to die. And certainly, so they do not suffer like the baby booming women who had estrogen grabbed out of their hands and are a generation of suffering women.
Yes. And, we didn't cover a lot what happened in that, effort in that study, but we covered it in other podcasts. And in your next visit here, I think we should kind of go into what happened there. Okay. What's one thing you do daily that makes you biologically younger?
I eat 130 grams of protein.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. So you basically do 1 gram per pound.
Yeah, and I've gotten a lot of criticism online for that. The research will take us up to 0.7 to 0.86. But listen, who can do the math? And we don't absorb it all anyway.
Yeah.
So 1 gram per pound.
No, listen, if some people, the way that they interpret studies is like bananas, okay? Like, I don't remember who said that any consumption, like below 20 grams in one sitting is irrelevant or something like that, like that it all becomes glucose, basically, like all goes through gluconeogenesis. Anyway, yes. What's the most underrated way to keep your skin and bones? Okay, well, we covered that. What's the one thing about muscle loss and skin aging no one is talking about? I promise that's the last question.
Well, women should remember that if you're losing muscle in your bicep, you're losing muscle in your face. I mean, so that's why faces start to melt in addition to the skin collagen.
Yeah.
It's because there's no structural integrity.
Yeah.
And no amount of filler is going to backfill healthy muscles. So ladies, let's get on this.
The opposite, by the way, filler, what we know now, we talked about blood circulation, but it also applies to lymphatic flow. Filler, and that is, by the way, what I'm saying right now is there is no plastic surgeon that opens up faces and would disagree with what I'm saying right now. Filler, although we think it's being metabolized and is out of your system by, fill in the blank, 9 months, a year, whatever, it actually morphs into the tissue, and it becomes like a hybrid tissue, like a gelatinous tissue that has very poor blood flow and lymphatic drainage. So actually, we're talking about like biological aging. You are contributing to older biological aging. And by the way, again, blood supply, lymphatic flow in the skin is like extremely important.
I think it's this false hope that what it's like today is going to help, because it's for what you look like in the mirror today, but it's really inhibiting your very goal, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
love it.
longevity.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. I loved it. I think
Yay.
this is a really cool interview. We are going to immediately hound you to come again, because that was so cool and important, and I loved that. So, Dr. Vonda Wright.
Are you going to London for this next big? You're not.
We decided against.
Because then we could talk there. We could.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway.
The next event we're probably going to do is called Eudaimonia, which is
I'll be there.
Amazing, fantastic.
I'll be there.
Okay, Dr. Vonda Wright, where can people follow you, kind of consume your content? Where can people get your book?
Yeah, 2 places. So you will always, 3 places, always find me on Instagram every day, Dr. Vonda Wright, Dr. Vonda Wright, every day. I'm there. My website, where all things are housed, is the same, Dr. Vonda Wright. But I am publishing a book, which is now in pre-sale, called Unbreakable, A Woman's Guide to Aging with Power. And it's a lot of the concepts we talked about. And it has a website. It's called The Unbreakable Book. So that's
very cool.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a link. Where is pre-sale happening?
All booksellers have it.
Okay.
Indie stores, Amazon, everybody.
So we're going to take a link off air from you to the one you preferred, but Google it and go from there. Thank you very much, Vonda. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.